we'll get going. This is a newcomers call. Some of you are newcomers. Some of you are, let's see, I shouldn't say old comers, should I? How about not as newcomers? That's a good phrase. I think we can use that one. And so that way I don't have to worry about, any of it. I know the women aren't very sensitive, but I know Kurt's really sensitive about being called an old comer, right, Kurt? So I want to be sensitive with you, big guy. So that's great. Well, to get started, I'm David Brown, and I'm one of the co-founders of Actives and the CEO. And some of our team are on tonight also. We've got Stu Carvalho, who is just talking to us about how things are going in, I guess, the flooding state of Hawaii right now. It's always really hard to feel sorry for anybody that lives in Hawaii, though, Stu. I mean, so, hopefully everybody's okay, but you wake up and you're still in Hawaii no matter what. So that's pretty good. And we've got Angie with us also, our Chief Operating Officer. And I think that's it for the corporate staff. But I'm not sure how long some of you have been part of the company. But at this meeting, we'd like to introduce ourselves, let you know what's going on, give a little bit of the background, and talk about let you have some more information about this company that you just joined. Actives is a little bit over 3 years old, but many of us have had some great experience in not only direct sales and network marketing, but other companies as well. I'm a lawyer by training and also have a lot of experience in retail, and got to know Angie and Stu and many others on this call, both corporate and distributors, at a company called LifeVantage, where we had a very good run a few years back, and where we were first introduced to Dr. Joe McCord. And some of you have already found out about Dr. McCord and his research. He is an expert in free radical biology, and he and his Pathways Biosciences team is behind our genomics product. It's interesting that when I first was introduced to Dr. McCord back in, I think, 2007 or 2008, LifeVantage had a product called Protandem that at that point represented the cutting edge of oxidative stress research, which was great, but I didn't know anything about oxidative stress. And I'd been in the supplement industry for some time, but if you'd asked me what a free radical was, I would have said, well, I think those are graduates from Berkeley. No, sorry, bad joke. Gil gets it, but I said, I don't really know too much about free radicals. And he started to educate me about the damage that free radicals cause, and the fact that we produce about 21 followed by 19 zeros worth of free radicals, and they're linked to aging and over 200 diseases and all those types of things. And I said, that's an awesome story, awesome product. It's great to know about that science. But I think the best way to tell people that story is directly. And so we took that company out of retail and into direct sales, and had a very explosive growth and a great experience. Now, fast forward, as you join this company, you're part of one of millions of people who, even during the pandemic, have started new businesses, looking for a side hustle, as people have been concerned about diversifying their family's income and where they can add to the family's economic health. In fact, if you were to Google side hustle, you'll get all types of entries coming up, followed by questions like, how can I earn an extra $1,000 a month? Or how can I earn an extra $100 a week? And there's no shortage of advice out there. There's a lot of advice, ranging from freelancing in your current job and working more hours, to setting up your own business and selling things through Amazon and all that kind of stuff, and saying how you can start a website and you can create a back office and you can fulfill, or you can get a fulfillment company, all of which I think to the average person would sound pretty complicated. We kind of short circuit that whole thing with Actives, because we provide a business opportunity with a back office that's already built in, with an app that you already have, with information about products. Now, if you were to start your own business, you'd have to think about the idea, what do I think I'd want to sell? Would I want to sell services? Would I want to sell products? And there's a lot of things out there, and you might find yourself in a kind of a low-priced race to sell services or products that lots of other people are serving. are selling and offering. That's a real advantage of actives. We don't have products that are Me Too products that you're going to have to worry about. Well, it's over there being sold at $19.99. They can get the same thing. That's not true. They can't get it. But it might be like, well, do they really need it? Are these products kind of like 8-track tapes that to a certain niche might be interesting, but to the average person, there's really no application anymore? And the answer is no. In fact, if you were to really spend some time understanding a little bit more about our products, you'll come to understand, that these products are really necessary for everyone, everywhere to take, virtually regardless of health condition, age, or situation. So you can really feel comfortable talking about that. Now, you might say, well, okay, that's easy for you to say. You're the CEO of the company. I wouldn't expect you to say anything else. But we do talk about epigenetic products. Epigenetic meaning those influences upon the upon the gene to make them express, turn on, or not express, turn off. And that's really a burgeoning, really exciting area of science, as we realize that we're much more than our genes. Which is good to know, because some of us look good in jeans and some of us don't look that good in jeans. But that's true of not only clothing, but also our internal genes as well. And if we're not happy with what we think nature has dealt us with our genetic profile, guess what? I've got good news for you. The news is much better than you think, because if you're not that happy with what's happening, it's probably because some genes aren't turned on that should be, and some genes, especially those that are causing inflammation, are turned up a little too high, and we can turn those down as well. So as we talk about those, I was looking through PubMed.gov tonight, and that's a repository of research that's been done on virtually anything that where the government has had money involved, and the government has sources of funds through millions and tens of millions of studies on almost everything under the sun. And in PubMed.gov, you can go and you can run a search and see what's been done out there. So for example, I mentioned oxidative stress a little bit ago. Did you know that if you Google the latest, some of you have done this, but if you put in PubMed.gov and research oxidative stress, you'll find almost 250,000 studies being done on things like this: oxidative stress in Alzheimer's disease, oxidative stress in atherosclerosis, oxidative stress in COPD. Virtually anything you can think of will have a link to oxidative stress. And guess what the overwhelming result of all those studies is? Lower oxidative stress is better than higher oxidative stress. Fundamentally, that's what that boils down to. And the good news about that is that our product Genomics, which stands for genome expression, has been shown to trigger the body's production of basically what I'll call a coaching molecule, a transcription factor called NRF2. If you look on the bottle, you'll find that Genomics describes itself as a NRF2 activator. All that means is that our genes, in order to be turned on or turned off, require instructions, they require signals, and they get those signals from the body's transcription factors, specialized proteins that have a job to do. And when you activate them, they do their job in the right way. When you don't activate them as much, they're just kind of sitting around not doing anything. And so by producing more NRF2, we are telling the bodies, okay, send that signal out. And the signal that we want you to send out is, okay, all of you genes out there, they're engaged in inflammation, and inflammation is the big bad, the big bad enemy of our body's health. Turn down, dial yourself back a little bit. You're way too excited. You're doing way too much damage in the body. And by the way, you genes that are and you enzymes, antioxidant enzymes that are tied to getting rid of free radicals, we're going to crank you guys up because we want to get rid of more free radicals in our body. And so by doing that, we are able to lower the overall levels of oxidative stress. And so that product, Genomics, basically you could call it an anti-aging product. You could call it a health insurance policy, because if you really want to think about it, it is one of the key weapons in our arsenal to prevent bad things from happening to our bodies, and keeping those cells as strong as possible. You may want to look at it this way. You know, I grew up on a ranch, and for entertainment in rural communities, you do weird things, okay? You do weird things like rodeos, and I'm going to say that because Angie is still involved in rodeos. She still does what's called barrel racing. You do things like, they're called demolition derbies. Have you ever seen demolition derbies, where cars get in, these old wrecks, and they get into usually a rodeo arena where they can't really build up too much speed. They take in all the glass and all the most of the dangerous stuff out of the cars, and then they just hammer each other, right? And they basically try to hammer each other into submit. They just run into each other and they collide with each other, trying to knock the car out of the other car out of commission, and really kill it, right? And what's interesting is that those cars can take an incredible amount of damage and battering before they finally conk out. Well, if you want to think about it that way, our cells are engaged in a demolition derby every single day, because these free radicals are raining down upon these cells, just beating them and beating them and beating them. And at a certain point, our cells are pretty resilient and are able to resist it. But you know what? At a certain point, the free radicals overwhelm them and create what's called cell apoptosis, which is cell death. Did you know that some of our cells are designed to kind of have a natural life cycle? Unfortunately for me and a few others on this call, hair, for example, follicles, they're kind of designed to have a natural cycle and skin cells as well. But an amazing number of our cells are not programmed to die. They aren't. They are perpetual motion machines that, all things being equal, if the circumstances are healthy, they aren't designed to die. They're designed to keep on going. So you might say, well, why do those cells ever die? Well, they die because of oxidative stress.
I like to start working at 3 in the afternoon.
But somebody needs to be on mute. Sorry. Angie, there you go. Thank you. And so what we want to do is that we want to cut down on all those collisions happening to our cells. And if we can do that by reducing oxidative stress, we're way ahead of the game. And so that's genomics. Now let's fast forward to Link, for example. Oh, by the way, I said there are 250,000 studies on oxidative stress. On NRF2 alone, almost 18,000 studies. So whenever you're out there and people are saying, you know what, all those MLM companies, they're all the same. They just have bogus snake oil products, and you're never going to make any money. And there's no research behind that stuff. It's all just blowing smoke. And I want to say, well, let me introduce you to something called PubMed. And if you want to, and you're feeling not very charitable, you can print off a bunch and just whack them with the studies and research and say, well, take that. No, I'm just kidding. You don't want to do that. We don't want to subscribe to violence. But what I will say is that that the reason I bring this up tonight is to let you know that there is a solid, fundamental scientific foundation to everything that we do. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in terms of the proof about that, not just these studies, but more. Let's go to Link. You know, there's 95,000 studies on butyric acid. This is interesting. Butyric acid in intestinal diseases. Let's see. Butyric acid, what is the future for this old substance? Because it's been used in Ayurvedic medicine for a long time. Let's see, butyric acid and cancer prevention, butyric acid and gut health. I mean, it goes on and on. And so, you know, one of the proofs I mentioned about what kind of company we are and what kind of science we have. Yeah, did your parents ever tell you that you can judge a person by the company they keep? Well, you can judge this company a lot by the people that are in it. If you look at our scientific advisory board, you know, with people like Dr. Joe Maroon, who's a world famous neurosurgeon at the University of Pittsburgh Medical School. Actually, by the way, you should all look at his website. I think it might be joemaroon.com if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, this guy is tied in to a lot of stuff. You know, he heads up the Pittsburgh Steelers medical team. He's really on the cutting edge of concussion and head injury research. And because of that, even before he was ever introduced to actives, guess what he'd already done a lot of time studying? He's spent a lot of time studying butyric acid, and he spent a lot of time studying turmeric and curcumin. He knows all about it. And in fact, on the fourth Tuesday, I think that's the 23rd, fourth Tuesday of this month, he and Jeff Boast are going to be presenting the medical forum. And they were recently looking at the ingredients of Arrow. And by the way, Dr. Maroon also used to be on the medical advisory board of GNC, which is based in Pittsburgh. And so, he's a big time guy. And he said, hey, listen, David, those ingredients are great. In fact, some of them we've used before in products at GNC that we helped develop and so they were singing the praises about those ingredients. But I can tell you this, that when we first met in our very first discussion, and some of you have heard me say this before, that when he believed so much in butyric acid. And again, if you want to, don't even go to PubMed, just Google. I hope you've done this. If none of you have done this, seriously, after this call, Google benefits of butyric acid. You don't have to believe a word I say tonight, and just look at what it talks about. And you'll be saying, whoa, this stuff is amazing. And then realize that, well, the bad part about it is that it smells and it tastes bad, and it's not very bioavailable or easily absorbed by the body. And we've solved those problems by licensing from Alzap the Psylocke technology. I'm not sure if I talked about this last time, but I've learned something else about that. We talk about the Psylocke technology and the Dex key. Do you remember seeing that in some of our materials in the past? Well, I kind of in the past, kind of given those short shrift, which at my height is easy to do. But some of you who know me, I give you, okay, I do lots of bald and short jokes. Sorry about that. I'm just gonna prepare you for that. That's because prior to taking these products, I was 6'4" with a full head of hair, but I'm also 125 years old. So there are pros and cons about all these products right there. But anyway, as I looked at these things and I looked more into the science, and I was looking at the Psylocke. Okay, the Psylocke is how we describe, or how Tesseract Medical describes taking a molecule, in this case, of butyric acid, and putting it in a protective covering, another molecule called cyclodextrin. Okay, and I was talking with Al Zapp about this because I found out that another company was doing that. He said, of course, yeah, there's other companies doing this, and some food companies and pharmaceutical companies have done this. I said, well, okay, well, what's the difference? And he said, David, usually you're a pretty smart guy, but you missed part of the whole thing, and that's the Dex key. And that's what's allowing him to get this process patented. By adding an amylase, which is an enzyme, to this cyclodextrin, he not only ensures that the taste and the smell are covered up, in this case of butyric acid, and also make sure that it passes safely through the GI tract, the stomach acids and all things like that. But at the end of the day, once it passes through, you want whatever's in that molecule to be released. You want the butyric acid to be released and be metabolized and be sent throughout the body for use. You want the tetrahydrocurcumin in optimum to be released. That's where the amylase comes in. He says, if you don't have the amylase, it gets stuck in the cyclodextrin. And yeah, a portion of it will get released by virtue of the stomach acids and other things, but the vast majority of the ingredients, the active ingredients, won't be released. So isn't it cool that we have that kind of technology behind? Because like that article said that I referred to, butyric acid is an old substance. It's found in ghee, it's found in butter, and Ayurvedic or traditional Indian medicine has known about its benefits for some time. It's just so hard to get enough into your body to make any difference that this is really revolutionary technology. And when you see what it does literally from head to toe to help you, and everything in between, from brain cells to gut cells to decreased inflammation, you'll convince yourself and everyone else that they ought to be taking this every day. Well, we talk about tetrahydrocurcumin. There's thousands of studies about curcumin generally, turmeric generally, and tetrahydrocurcumin specifically. What about even the ingredients in Arrow? There are results on PubMed about African mango. This is one article. African mango is a proprietary seed extract found to be effective in reducing body weight and improving metabolic parameters in overweight humans. How about chromium picolinate? First article, supplementation for overweight or obese adults, reduces insulin resistance. Citrus aurantium, functions as a food ingredient and therapeutic agent. Safety, efficacy, and mechanistic studies regarding citrus aurantium. Some of you say, David, you got to get a hobby. If this is how you spend your time, you really need to get out more. That's probably true, but it is kind of cool. I love being able to reassure myself and others that what we're putting into these products really is amazing. How about this? Agave inulin affects this is not so great to talk about, but the fecal microbiota of healthy adults participating in a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled weight loss study. The bottom line is that if you're going to start a company, if you're going to create a side hustle to help you get that extra $1,000 a month or more, then you might want to consider things that that are really needed by other people, that have some degree of uniqueness and rarity that people just can't get everywhere else, and then find out things about it so that you can talk about it. You don't need to be a techno geek like I am. Actually, I'm not a techno geek. I'm kind of a science geek, but I do like research, and I do like finding out more about how the body functions and how our body and how these products affect that. But it's really not that necessary. You know, if you just said nothing about genomics, except that oxidative stress is linked to 200 disease conditions, and you want to reduce it, and this does it more powerfully than anything else on the planet, that's great. If you want to talk about Link and say it's going to heal your gut and give you more brain cells, bam. If you want to talk about Optimed, it's going to reduce your pain and inflammation, bam. If you want to talk about Amora and talk about increased, collagen production, decreased lines and fine wrinkles, bam. If you want to talk about Aero and appetite suppression, increasing your metabolism, and having metabolic activators, bam. You don't really have to know much more than that. And then give it to people to try and try it yourself. Because if you don't try it yourself and can't tell people really authentically, hey, I've tried this, I have my own personal stories about this. It's okay until you do have those stories to borrow the stories of somebody else. I think that's fine, as long as you believe them and think that they're true. But I guarantee you that as you all get on these products, you'll come to have your own personal stories as well. And the people that have been in the company for some time, I can look around on the screen and I can probably tell some of the stories that I've heard already. And so I can tell you that not only have we attracted these top-notch scientists, we're a company that also has investors. I have partners, and we have investors that are part of financial management funds. We have professional golfers. We have highly ranked senior amateur golfers. We have successful businessmen and businesswomen of all stripes. And I can tell you that the main reason that they are attracted to this is maybe the same reason that you were initially attracted to actives too. They saw it as a way to make a good investment and to put some money to work that they're going to get a return off of. And they know that they're going to have to be patient. They don't expect to get a return on their investment in actives for several years. The good news is, as distributors, you don't have to wait that long. It's more in your control. As an investor, lots of things aren't in their control. They kind of have to wait and see how things turn out with the company. But all of you do have the opportunity, and there are examples of people on this call tonight who not only have testimonials regarding the products and the tremendous health benefits that they've received, but also have a testimonial about the business. And they can tell you, this is what I used to make, this is what I'm making now. And they can tell you how it's changed their lives. And sometimes you might say, well, I guess it's just lucky, or they had specific characteristics that allowed them to succeed. And I will say that as in all things in life, good fortune plays a role. There's no doubt about it. But I can tell you this, that there's a way to make your own good fortune. There are any number of people found, whether you think they're going to be interested or not, that literally will be grateful to you for introducing the actives opportunity to them. And so don't give up on yourself. If it's hard out of the gate, well, what new thing that you've started in life that was worthwhile was not hard out of the gate? I don't know anything. Whether it was sports, whether it was academics, whether it was learning to drive a car for the first time. You might have thought that it was kind of hard, but you stuck with it because what you wanted to accomplish was worth it to you. So anyway, You can tell that I'm a recovering lawyer by training, because once I get going, man, it's hard for you to shut me up. But I'm gonna take a breath here and see if anybody has any questions about anything I've talked about. If they want to talk about college basketball, I don't care. Well, we can talk about whatever you want. But if you have some questions that you'd like to bring up during our time together, feel free to do that.
David, it's Christina.
Everybody except Christina. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Christina.
Thank you. Can you give us a vision from as a CEO of the company in the next, I don't know, couple of years for the company? That would be awesome. Like where we will be, all those things that we may think in the very beginning as a distributors, but not sure if the company is thinking the same.
Sure, absolutely. Well, what's interesting is that, I usually make a joke at this point, Christina. I usually say I'm only 5'7". How much vision can I have? But actually, I do have a lot of vision. And my vision is actually for us to, as a company, to be equated with and known for not only our great products, but for the fact that it truly is a legitimate business opportunity for people of all ranks of and walks of life to participate in. We've already proven it out. Christina is one of our early adopters, so to speak, in Mexico, where literally thousands of people are making over $500 a month or more as their side hustle. In many cases, their side hustle has become their full-time gig. This is what they do. And in fact, Christina falls into that category. It's not a sideline operation for her. It's her main means of support. And we look to expand that. So what's really interesting is that I mentioned this on another call recently, and I really like this saying. Ray Kroc, who founded McDonald's, he used to tell this to his franchisees. He said, when you buy a McDonald's franchise, you're in business for yourself, but not in business by yourself. And that's really something that I think is true here at Actives. When you join Actives, even in the very early days, you are part of an international company with operations in the United States, Japan, Mexico, Peru. We have a number of people, even though we are not technically in Colombia, who are finding a way, jumping through all sorts of hoops to participate. And we will be in Colombia officially, I think, probably within the next 90 days. We're in the process of seeking approval for our products. Bolivia is the same way. We will be expanding throughout Central and South America. I know Kurt is very involved and very interested in Taiwan. That's another domino that I don't think is too far away from falling. And so what's really interesting is that in many cases, if you were to buy a McDonald's franchise right now, they're a lot more expensive than they used to be. I'll tell you that much than they were in the 50s. And no matter how well you did as a franchisee owner, if you had a franchise in Long Island where Gil's at, he's not going to get a share of the profits of any McDonald's going in Tokyo, Japan. All right. But as soon as you get to the A6 level, you start participating in pools with revenue that you're not generating by yourself. It's being generated by people who are cross-lined to you here in the United States, who are in entirely different countries. And so you have the opportunity, again, going back to this side hustle that this article said millions of people are looking at. 52% of Americans now trust that if they started a business on their own, they're more comfortable than getting into they have more, they feel more safe about that than joining a company and getting a regular job. That's really interesting. That's up 20% from 2011. So what we'll continue to do is also introduce cutting edge products that people really need. Okay, we're never going to have hundreds of products. We're never going to have thousands of products. We're never going to sell vitamin C. Why? Because you can get vitamin C someplace else, and it's not a good business opportunity. Many people like drinking lemonade, but starting a lemonade stand is usually not a real good business opportunity because you can get lemonade anywhere. And so we'll never be a lemonade stand. What we will do is we'll continue to be a company that increasingly is known for the quality of our science and the people that come and join us. So some of the other things that we are in the process of doing is, for example, one of our advisory board members is named Richard Jones. He's a vice president and the general manager of several television stations here in Utah, but it's also part of Nexstar, which is the largest telecommunications, and they have like 225 stations throughout the United States. And we're working with them to increase the brand awareness through social media, as well as over-the-air programming of actives. Why do we do that? Well, not because we are interested in we have zero interest in selling in stores. We're never going to do things like that. But what I have a strong interest in doing is making sure that when you go out there and put your reputations on the line and tell people that you're part of a really cool company that's got great products, that we provide you with cover. That cover comes in the form of science. It comes in the forms of patents. It comes in the form of scientists, but it also comes in the form of brand awareness. And if somebody says, hey, I think I've heard about that. I think I saw that. They automatically give it more credence than maybe it even deserves. But if they think they've heard it from someplace other than just their neighbor, they sometimes take it more seriously. So providing cover, providing real foundational support at every level, I can tell you we're looking into a variety of things that I don't even want. I'm tempted to bring them up, but I can just tell you, you're going to be surprised, all of which will be involved in terms of activating your health in ways that I guarantee you're not thinking about. About my house, you're not thinking about it. When we talk about it, you're going to be surprised. And even ways that we can make the payment process, receiving commissions, and buying product and doing other things easier for everyone in some really exciting ways as well. So those are the things that we're working at, because we don't, already we have defied the odds. We've gone 3 years and we're still in business. Most companies don't in any industry. And so we're still in business. We're finally starting to be profitable. That's great. Most companies aren't after only 3 years. You might say, well, is that good? Yeah, it's very good. It means we're going to be around. It means that we are self-sufficient. And I can tell you that, were we happy that we build a $225 million company in 5 years at LifeVantage? Yes. Are we going to be happy? Are we going to be pleased if we build that same thing here? I guess we'll be pleased and we'll be happy, but we won't be satisfied. We feel that we have a lot more room to grow, and the people who are involved and stay involved in the early days of any company, regardless of industry, that continues on and makes it, they're the ones that always generate a disproportionate amount of the benefit. That means you. We're still in the very, very early days. The United States is very, very virgin territory. The fastest growing part of the US is Spanish speaking, which is cool. And that's a great demographic. But what it also means is that if you walk outside wherever you're living and you talk to 100 people about actives, almost assuredly, none of them will have heard it before, which means it's a great opportunity. It's not saturated. If you try that with Amway, I can guarantee you that even though Amway is not a bad company, it's a $14 billion company, almost all of them will have heard about Amway and have already made up their mind about whether they have any interest or not. You don't have to worry about that. And so those are the types of things that keep me up at night, because I'm excited about the prospects for the future.
Thank you, David.
Any other questions? I'll try and keep it much shorter. Angie, anything we should cover with these guys before we let them go?
Well, we'd be happy to go over the app or the back office for anyone that is new and hasn't had the experience of understanding how the back office works, or what they should do within, or how the app works, or what they should do within their back office.
Anybody need a primer on that, or are you feeling pretty good? Tells me that if you're feeling pretty good, that your mentors, the people who brought you in, are doing a pretty good job. And by the way, that's really important. Don't try and do this on your own. If you were going to start a business on your own in some other context, you'd want to network. Okay. What is LinkedIn? LinkedIn is all about networking. What is social media? It's all about networking. Every successful business is successful because ultimately there's networking and putting the word out there. And so utilize your mentors, utilize your group, ask for help. And rather than being embarrassed by it, I think you're going to prove that you're really serious about what you're doing when you go to your mentors for help. So there's some great people on the line tonight who are willing to give all types of help.
David, I had a question. And now that I see, as because I on my phone and I don't have my glasses to see, how, for example, I know that Aaron is working with a non-profit organization with the veterans in California. How is that related with Actis? How that is working? And asking because I'm having that project in my mind for a long time here in Arizona. And this Saturday, my husband is part of the board in a non-profit veterans organization here in Arizona. And I don't know how that works, how Aaron did it with you guys. And maybe it's something that we don't need to talk about in this meeting. I don't know about, but when I see him and I saw you, and then I saw Saturday, I was with this group, I was like, oh, maybe I can do something here also. I don't know.
No, I'll let Aaron chime in, but Nerve 2 Veterans is really his organization and others that are with his group. It's a real passion for them. I wouldn't say Actives doesn't really have a formal connection other than we participated in certain things. We provided some product and we provided some other things and worked together, which isn't to say that with that organization or other nonprofits, we aren't interested. You know, at a certain point, we definitely do want to have much more of a philanthropic nonprofit effort. We have to get to a point where we have some profits. Right now, we have been a nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
Investors don't like giving away money to nonprofits until you have some profit yourself. But it doesn't mean that we can't participate. And so we have participated with Aaron and some others, primarily from a product standpoint, on a limited basis in helping out. And so, we're open to those type of things with people that, are passionate about what they're doing and believe there's a particular group that they're attached to that can really benefit. Aaron, anything else you want to add to that?
There's about 30 million things. So I'll get with her tomorrow.
Thank you.
Cool.
All right. Thank you.
So David, since Christina asked a question, and since we have our first A16 and our only A16 on the call tonight, I'd like to throw a question at her and ask Christina, 30 seconds, 5 minutes, however much time you want. What is a tip that you would give to the newcomers on this call?
I'm not sure she's still on.
Oh, did she jump off?
I don't see her. I think maybe she just jumped off.
Oh, she did jump off. Okay, well, we're going to throw this question over to Paige and Trish, since they are our A10s on the call. And also Karen, Paige, and Trish.
Hi, I'm Paige Gimble. I'm one of the old timers, and I do not have a problem calling myself that. And I'm very grateful for Actives, but this is my tip to any of the newcomers, is that stay close to the fire and don't quit.
Good advice.
Thanks, Paige. All right, Karen.
Hi. I'm always multitasking, so I had to put my sweater back on because I was in my tank top at the time. Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're so glad to have you on tonight. We are just thrilled to have you as part of our team. So let's see. My tip is love what you do. Have as much fun as you possibly can and enjoy the ride. And enjoy all of those three, or have those three be consistent, and then it will force you to be consistent in your business. And that's what this is all about. If you're not having fun, if you're not loving what you're doing, if you're not enjoying the people that you're around, then why do it? So here we have the best family ever. We have, as you've heard, the products, the science, but I'm here because I love the people. I'm here because I love the vision. I'm here because this has been the most fabulous ride ever. And I've been successful in quite a bit of companies. So for me to say that I was actually in retirement and came out of retirement to participate in actives. And it's just showing up, being happy, having a good time. And I don't know if David's going to want me to say this, but don't chase the money. The money will come when you're doing something that you're passionate about and that you really, really love. And trust me, when people see how infectious you are and how committed you are and how that this is your passion, you are going to be successful. Each and every one of you. And we are here to cheer you on. And no matter if we're in your team, in your downline, or if we're on a different side of the house, we are all doing this together. And that's huge in this type of business, that we are a complete family. It doesn't matter where you came in, what level you are, what team you're on. We're here to support each and every one of you. So, okay, my one little tip went into a huge speech. Sorry about that. That's why they put me on last to talk. So welcome tonight and just have fun.
Thanks, Karen. One of the key things that she said was doing. If there's not any doing involved in your activities, it's gonna reward you that way. I've heard it said, if you treat it like a hobby, it will reward you like a hobby. If you treat it like a passion of your life, then you'll get the commensurate rewards. I'm often reminded, I remember as a kid, as a teenager, complaining to my dad that I wasn't saving money very well. And he said, well, have you ever taken stock of just what you're spending your money on? I said, well, not really. And so I started writing things down like, whoa, I didn't realize I spent this much on this and this much on that. And it adds up quickly on things that really weren't that important to me. And it was taking money away from things that I felt like I wanted to save money for. The reverse is also true. Have you ever had people who wanted to lose weight and they say, oh, I don't know why I'm not losing weight. I'm exercising, I eat like a bird. Well, part of that was right. They take stock of when they're eating and they think, I really am eating like a bird. I'm eating all the time. And when I go to the gym, I get dressed and I show up, but I'm not really doing that much. And they find that with just a little bit of actually when people who do nothing but change one habit and keep a food journal and they just write down everything they eat, those people lose 10 pounds, like almost virtually overnight. And they don't do anything different. It's just they have an increased consciousness of what they've been doing, and I think that's true of anything. And I think if you really write down, what did I do on my actives business today? Who did I share with? And not as a way to guilt yourself into something, just to kind of really take stock and say, what am I spending my time on? I think you'll have a proportionate increase in productivity when you say, okay, I kind of thought I was productive then, but I maybe wasn't as productive as I thought I was, and it's easy. I mentioned that I grew up on a ranch, and in the summer months, it's haying season. Okay, the hay comes up, and I used to really like making haystacks. Now you don't really make haystacks anymore because now they use big machineries and they have like half-ton bales and things like that. But back in the day, you'd have smaller bales of 50 to 100 pounds or so, and you'd stack those bales into a haystack. Okay, and what was rewarding about it is hard physical work, didn't require much intelligence, but at the end of the day, guess what? You could look back and say, okay, there didn't used to be a haystack there, now there's a haystack. So I knew there was a measurement of what I did. As I went to law school and I got involved in business, you feel like you're working all day, but sometimes like, okay, did that pile of papers on my desk get bigger or smaller? I mean, it's not quite as easy to see your progress. So it's really important to write down and say, I did this. Maybe I didn't quite get to that, but some measure, and hold yourself accountable. And let others in your team hold you accountable as well, and work together. So, good stuff. Hey, Stu, any cheeky from you tonight?
I think all that's been said or needed to be said was said. But for all those that's your first time here, welcome. It's great to see familiar faces on this call, and it just goes to show that those who are involved with actives receive the greatest support. We had our A16 Christina on, and we have a lot of our elite distributors and leaders on this call. So this speaks volumes for the kind of company we are. And it starts from the top with Ryan and David and Angie hitting it up, spearheading it. But just as important as that, we have the great foundation of each and every one of you. So thank you all for joining the call and inviting people. Gil, we did reward you with 20 product points for inviting Robin. So thank you for that. And so we continue, we ask for your continual guidance and support as we do our weekly calls. So thank you all so much.
Thanks, Stu. Speaking of weekly calls, I'll just end by saying we have a call, our corporate update call tomorrow at 10 o'clock Mountain. Stu, I don't remember, is that the same call-in? You guys should know. Is that the same call-in number as this one?
That is correct.
I think it is, right? So I actually have a conflict, so I won't see you in the morning. So I'll say goodbye to you tonight. And but Stu, I think will be on in the morning, even though at that time it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, Hawaii time, if I remember right. And he still ends up looking just as good as he does now. I'll let you take that whichever way you'd like. So no, Stu's who I want to be when I grow up. So anyway, thanks for joining tonight, everybody. It's great to see your bright smiling faces. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.